All right, and welcome to the IU Hoops Halftime Report as your Indiana Hoosiers currently down 44-29 to Michigan. You know, what's amazing about this is that over the last three, segments between TV timeouts of the game, Indiana won 5-4, then split it 4-4, and then won the last one 7-6. But what killed Indiana again? An awful, awful start that saw Michigan win the first segment 14-9 and the second segment 16-4. And just like that, Indiana's down 30-13. And what have we talked about with these slow starts? You know, when you're playing Northwestern and when you're playing Penn State and when you're playing teams like that, good teams, not great teams, you can start out slow and you have a little bit of margin for error and you can battle back. But when you go on the road and when you do that against a really, really good, potentially great team in Michigan, they're going to bury you. And that's exactly what happened. And, Archie Miller talked about on the pregame show that the slow starts typically, in his mind, sometimes it's been because of defense, but a lot of times it's been because of inefficient offense. Certainly that was part of it. I mean, this was a complete meltdown to start the game for Indiana, but I thought the biggest issue was the defense. What did Michigan finish with? They finished with 1.42 points per possession in the first half, and it was 1.6 about 12, 13 minutes in. So Indiana actually did a little bit of a better job. Michigan actually missed a few shots. I mean, they started out 13 for 16. They finished 18 for 31. But I just didn't think, Archie talked about the key to the game, containing dribble penetration. Indiana doesn't do that. I mean, I think it was the first possession. Devontae Green, ends up letting Xavier Simpson drive right by him. And granted, Xavier Simpson's a terrific player, but he just let him drive right by him for a layup. And if you're not going to contain Michigan's dribblers and they're going to be able to drive and kick and just kind of move the ball and get you in rotation, that's what's going to happen. And I mean, yes, you credit Michigan for really good offense, but I just didn't think that we came out ready to really dig in defensively. We came out like we often do, which is let's ease our way into this game. And yes, the defense got better and we forced a shot clock violation and it got a little better as the half went on, but we just didn't come out ready to play the kind of elite defense that we're building towards, and that at times it's felt like we've played. Today we looked awful defensively. And, look, if you had said, coming into this game, you're going to score 29 points in the first half, no, that wouldn't have been good, but you certainly wouldn't have thought that you'd be down by this much. So to me, the big culprit for this first half is defensively. And obviously when Juwan and Romeo, come right out and get two fouls, Juwan's first foul, he just bumps Charles Matthews. I didn't think Juwan came out, kind of in a stance and intense. Like that was just kind of one of those. He was standing straight-legged and he fouled him. The second foul, kind of questionable. He's reaching in, probably just a play he can't make, knowing how important he is to this team. But, he's 4 for 12, missed a lot of shots that he normally makes, in part because John Teskey is taller than most guys he usually goes up against, but in part because he's, just not quite, I don't know. He didn't quite seem right to start the game to me, but he got it going there a little bit toward the end of the first half, and hopefully, starting the second half with only the two fouls, we see a little bit better from him. But look, I mean, this now is a second half where you just got to dig in and get some stops, because I think now that Indiana has settled in a little bit, I think they'll be able to do some things offensively. Romeo's been able to get some things done going to the basket. We're getting opportunities down low for Juwan, and if he, calms down a little bit and is a little bit more patient, those may start to go in, and then he'll be able to, do some of his passing out of the post that we saw. I think, Devontae Green and Al Durham have given you enough offensively. Green with 6 points, Durham with 5 points. They've each got an assist. Only one turnover between the two of them. They've given you what they needed to give you offensively. But this Indiana team is so dependent on Romeo Langford and Juwan Morgan that when they are, 6 for 18 offensively, that's really going to hurt you. And they've gotten some good looks that they normally make. They just haven't gone down. So you look at the struggles on defense, you look at Juwan and Romeo not being elite offensively, and you've got this 15-point deficit. So, it's just extremely disappointing to see the team come out again. And, I don't know what radio station I was on last week, but I said, someone asked, what's it going to take for these slow starts to stop? And I said, maybe getting our doors blown off because we start out slow. Because it's human nature. You start out slow, you get down, but you keep coming back. You think that's always going to be the case. And especially when you're playing with a bit of a short bench, there's no Duran today. Guys know they're going to play 35, 36, 37 minutes. I understand, maybe you don't go all out from the very beginning of the game. But goodness gracious, at some point you're just going to dig yourself a hole that you can't get out of. And that may be what's happening right here. And so if there's any silver lining, if there's any big lesson that can be taken from this, it's, hey, the competition has ratcheted up. No, we're not going to be playing at Michigan. Again, this is probably the toughest matchup of the season, but they're going to be matchups that are close, and you can't start out slow like this. So hopefully the guys come out. We've been a team that's made adjustments in the second half. I think our average scoring margin is +9 in the second half. So if we can battle back and just kind of make this a competitive game in the second half, look, if we can come back and actually compete in the game, we'll save that daydream for another time. It'll be an elated post-game show if that happens. But this team has to dig in on defense and refine its identity. Find something positive to take from this first half, because to me that's the biggest thing that happened there in the first half is we came out and played without an identity. Our identity has been really good defense, being able to count on Romeo and Juwan, and we couldn't count on either one of those things in the first half. And that's going to kill you on the road. And, your senior leader in Juwan Morgan has to be better. I thought the fact that he took quick threes early on, when Archie had talked about in the pregame how he didn't want to take quick shots. He wanted to be patient. He wanted to really work it. I know Juwan probably wants to come out and get the team off to a good start, and I'm not saying that, any of those shots kind of individually were bad per se because he was relatively open, but it didn't seem to me like a senior executing the coach's game plan based on what he said in the pregame. And so the team is going to go how Juwan goes in these games like this, and against Arkansas, against Duke, and now here today, he hasn't done enough in the first half, and he gets graded on a curve. He gets graded a little bit tougher. He's got to be better, and it felt like he started to press a little bit, because he wasn't. And look, Juwan Morgan is a fantastic player, one of the greats that we've seen, but if Indiana's going to go and win some of these tough road games, he's going to have to come out and be better early in games to settle things down. And I thought that was, a big part of the reason why Indiana struggled out of the gate. So not much more to say about, this half. They've just got to dig in defensively, make Michigan work more, play defense more like they did the final 6-7 minutes of that half than they did the first 12 or 13. And hopefully they can just grind their way back into at least making this a competitive second half. But hat tip to Michigan. They came ready to take advantage of everything Indiana was giving them. They did. They made shots. They got rebounds. That's why they're ranked number 2 in the country. So hopefully we have some more positive things to talk about on the post-game show. Join us. Coach Tonsoni will be there. Ryan will be there, I think. Hopefully he'll be there. So we look forward to talking with you then, and hopefully we have more positive things to discuss. Thanks, everybody. Go Hoosiers.